You have done it 100 times. The egg goes into the pan, you give it a minute, you slide the turner under it, and it tears. The white grabs the iron and rips, the yolk breaks, and what should have been a clean, over-easy egg is a scrambled mess stuck fast to the bottom. And you stand there, and you think the very same thing everyone thinks. This old cast iron is too much trouble. Maybe I ought to go back to the slick black pans, the ones that promise nothing ever sticks. I want to stop you right there, because you are about to throw away the best pan you will ever own for want of 3 things nobody ever taught you. I am Elias Yoder. My family came over from the Palatinate in 1838, and we have farmed and cooked on this same Lancaster County ground ever since. And the pan I am going to talk about today is older than I am. It hung in my mother's summer kitchen, and in her mother's before that, and Esther cooks on it most every morning now. It has never once seen a slick coating. It has never had a thing sprayed onto it from a factory. And I will tell you plainly, it is more truly non-stick than any of those modern pans, with nothing in it but iron and good fat baked in by years of honest use. No coating to scratch off into your food, no forever chemical that the makers themselves are quietly backing away from now. Just iron and fire and fat, the way it has always been. But it only behaves if you know its 3 secrets, and most folks get every single one of them wrong, and then they turn around and blame the pan. So let me show you the way my mother showed me, how to cook an egg over easy on bare cast iron and have it slide around the pan like it is riding on ice. Stay with me. But before the 3 secrets, let me tell you plainly what that seasoning everyone frets over actually is, because once you understand it, the rest makes simple sense. Seasoning is not a spice, and it is not a coating that comes in a can. It is nothing more than fat that has been heated on the iron until it changes, until it hardens and bonds right into the metal itself and turns into a smooth, dark, glassy skin. Every time you cook with a little fat in a hot pan, you are laying down one more thin layer of it. That is why an old pan that has cooked 10,000 meals is slicker than a brand new one. It is not worn out, it is broken in. The years of good fat and good heat have built up a finish on it that no factory can spray on and sell you. You are not maintaining the pan so much as you are slowly building it, meal by meal, and that is a thing worth understanding, because it means every time you cook the right way, the pan gets a little better, and every time you cook the wrong way or scrub it wrong, you set it back. Now, the 3 secrets. Let me start with the secret that matters most, the one 9 out of 10 people get backward, because if you get this one wrong, nothing else will save you. The reason your food sticks is almost never the seasoning. It is the heat, and more exactly, it is that you put the food in before the pan was ready. Here is what my mother taught me at her stove, and I have never once found it to fail. Cast iron is not like a thin steel pan that heats the instant you light the burner. Iron is heavy and it is slow. It takes its time coming up to temperature, and then it holds that heat like a stone in the hearth once it finally gets there. That slowness is its whole gift, an even heat that does not flinch when you lay a cold egg or a cold steak into it. But that same slowness is the thing people fight against without even knowing they are doing it. They put a cold pan on the fire, drop the butter in straight away, crack the egg in right behind it, and the pan is still stone cold in its bones. It looks hot on top because the butter is sizzling, but underneath, down in the iron, it has not come up yet, and cold iron grabs. It is the cold pan that sticks near every single time. So the first secret is patience. You set your empty pan on a medium flame and you leave it be. Nothing in it. No fat, no food, just the bare iron warming through, all the way through, not just the surface. Give it a few minutes, longer than you think you need. You will know it is ready when you hold your hand a span above it and feel the heat rising up steady and even, and you may see the faintest wisp of steam or a thin thread of smoke lift off the dry iron. That is the pan telling you it is ready. Hot iron releases, cold iron grabs. Say it to yourself at the stove until it is second nature. That one thing, learned and trusted, fixes more stuck eggs than all the seasoning in the world. Now, and only now, the fat goes in. You drop in your butter, or a spoon of lard, or whatever good fat you keep by the stove, and you watch it move. Because on a properly heated pan, that butter will not just sit there in a lump. It will slacken and run and spread itself thin and bright right across the whole surface, hunting out the low spots. You tip the pan a little and coat the bottom, edge to edge. That sheet of hot fat on hot iron, that is the slick surface your egg is going to ride on. That is the very thing the slick factory pans are only pretending to be, and you have made the real thing in 10 seconds with a knob of butter. And let me say an honest word about which fat, because folks ask me and it matters more than they think. For an egg, or anything cooked gentle at a medium heat, good butter is a joy, and a spoon of lard is even better, and it is what my people have always kept by the stove. But butter has milk solids in it that will burn and turn brown if you push the heat up high. So if you are searing a steak or frying at a hard heat, you want a fat that can take it. Lard, or beef tallow, or a plain neutral oil that does not scorch. Match the fat to the heat, and you will never stand there wondering why the pan smoked out the kitchen. A gentle egg wants butter, a hard sear wants lard or tallow. Simple as that. Then the egg. And here is the second secret, and it is a secret of nerve more than of skill. Once that egg hits the pan, you leave it alone. You do not touch it. You do not nudge it. You do not go poking at it with the turner the second it lands. This is where the impatient cook ruins everything. He sees the egg sitting there and he wants to be busy with it, and he slides the turner under before the egg is ready to let go, and of course it tears. Not because the pan failed him, but because he tore it himself. Let it be. Let it sit in that hot fat and take its first set. You will hear it, a steady, gentle simmering, and you will watch the white turn from clear to solid at the edges. Give it that half a minute of faith, and then watch what happens. Take the pan by the handle and give it a small shake, a little jog forward and back. If you did the first two secrets right, that egg will slide. The whole egg, loose, gliding across the pan, free as you please, not stuck in one spot. That is the iron telling you it has released the egg all on its own. Now, and only now, you slip your turner under, and it goes under easy, because the egg already let go, and you flip it. A few seconds on the other side for over easy, the yolk still whole and soft underneath, and then you tip it out onto the plate clean. Nothing left behind. A pan you could very near wipe out with a dry cloth. That is bare cast iron, and there is no coating in all the world does it better. Now the third secret, and this is the one that decides whether the pan stays this good for the next meal or slowly turns on you. The cleaning. Because how you treat the pan after supper is exactly how it treats you at breakfast. The old rule starts the very moment the food comes out, while the pan is still warm. Warm iron lets go of anything clinging to it. Cold iron sets it on like cement. So you clean it warm, not cold, and certainly not the next morning after it has sat out all night. For a pan like the egg pan, where the food slid clean off, there is near nothing to do at all. A wipe with a cloth or a bit of paper, and you are most of the way home. But if something did stick, a bit of fried-on egg at the edge, a little crust from a fried potato, you do not reach for a harsh scouring pad, because that would strip the seasoning right off along with it. The old answer is sitting right there in the cupboard, a handful of coarse salt. You throw the salt into the warm pan, and you scrub it round with a wad of cloth or a folded rag, and the salt scours off the stuck bits like a fine grit, without ever touching the baked-in seasoning underneath. Salt is the old scrubbing powder for iron, and it has never once been bettered for the job. It cleans, and it cannot cut through the finish, because it simply dissolves away as you work it. Now, the water. People are frightened of water on cast iron, and they are half right. Water is not the enemy. Water left sitting is the enemy. You may give the pan a quick rinse under hot water to clear it out, and that is perfectly fine, so long as you understand the rule that comes right after it, and it is the rule everyone forgets. Any time water touches the iron, you must dry it at once, completely. Not set it in the rack to drip, not leave it on the counter to air dry, because bare iron and standing water make rust, and rust is the one thing that truly wrecks a pan. So you take your towel and you wipe out every last bit of moisture you can find. And then comes the step that separates a pan that lasts 100 years from one that rusts out in a month. You set it back on the burner on a low flame for a minute or two, and you let the last hidden moisture steam away to nothing. The gentle warmth drives the water right up out of the very pores of the iron, out of the places your towel could never reach. And as the old folks knew, without ever needing to say it in fancy words, the warm iron opens up just enough to take a fresh skim of oil. And that fresh oil is the last thing. While the pan is still warm and bone dry, you put in a few drops of oil, and I do mean a few. This is where folks go wrong at the other end of it, drowning the pan in oil, thinking that more must be better. It is not. Too much oil bakes down sticky and gummy and spotty, and now you have made yourself a whole new problem to scrub off later. So a few drops only. Take a cloth, an old one you do not mind staining, and rub that oil all over the cooking surface and the little way up the sides. Then take a clean, dry corner of that same cloth and wipe it back off again until the pan looks almost dry with just the barest sheen to it. You are not coating the pan, you are sealing it. A whisper of oil to keep the air and the damp off the iron until the next time you cook. Then you let it cool and hang it up or leave it right there on the stove the way Esther leaves ours, ready for the morning. And let me clear up a few things folks worry themselves sick over, because there is a great deal of fear passed around about cast iron that simply is not so. The first, soap. The old folks feared soap on iron, and there was a reason for it 100 years ago, because the soap back then was harsh, lye soap that would strip a finish right off. But the mild dish soap in your kitchen today is a gentler thing, and a small drop of it now and again will not hurt a well-seasoned pan one bit. It is the hard scouring and the long soaking that harm a pan, not a quick wash. So do not lie awake over a drop of soap. The second, metal turners. Folks will tell you never to touch cast iron with a metal spatula, and that is nonsense. A good hard finish can take a steel turner all day long. It is not glass. My mother flipped 10,000 eggs with a metal turner on that pan, and it is smoother today than the day it was cast. The third, and this one is real, so hear me, never put cast iron in the dishwasher, and never leave it to soak in a sink full of water overnight. The dishwasher and the long soak are the two things that will rust a pan faster than anything, and between them they have ruined more good iron than all the hard cooking in the world. A quick, warm wash and then immediate dry, that is the whole of it. Fear the soak, not the soap. Now I will tell you who profits from your believing that cast iron is too much trouble. Not to rile you up, just so you can see the shape of the thing, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. There is no money in a pan that lasts 200 years. The pan my mother used I will hand down to my grandchildren, and not one company on this earth earns a single cent on that handing down. But there is a great deal of money in a pan that wears out. The slick black pans with the sprayed-on coating are sold to you as the easy answer. No seasoning, no fuss, nothing sticks, they say. And then in a year or 2 or 3, the coating scratches and it flakes and it gives out, and into the bin it goes, and you drive back to the store and you buy another one just like it. That is not a flaw in their plan. That is the plan. A pan that must be replaced is a pan that can be sold to you again. A pan that outlives you is a pan that gets sold exactly once. Now, I am not telling you a man sat in a room somewhere and schemed to make your pan wear out. Nobody had to. And in a way, it is worse than a conspiracy, because it is a thing nobody had to coordinate at all. It simply pays better to sell a pan that fails than it does to teach a man how to keep one forever. So the knowledge of the forever pan just quietly slipped out of the stores and the advertisements because there was nothing in it to sell. The old people kept their iron their whole lives, not because they were wiser than us, but because nobody was standing there selling them the next one. I will tell you a short story on this. A young woman wrote to me, near in tears over it, saying she had been given her late grandmother's skillet, a pan the whole family treasured, and that everything she cooked in it stuck and burned, and she was sure she had somehow ruined the one thing of her grandmother's she had left. She thought the pan was dying under her hands. I wrote her back and I asked her just one question. How long do you heat it before the food goes in? And she answered, Honest, I put the egg in as soon as the butter melts. There it was, the whole trouble in that one sentence. I told her, heat the bare pan 5 full minutes on a medium flame before the butter ever goes near it, and then write me back. And she did, a week later, and she said the first egg slid across the pan, and she sat down at her own kitchen table and cried. The good kind of crying this time, because it was her grandmother's pan working the way it always had, and it was her hands that made it do it. There was never one thing wrong with that pan. There was only a thing nobody had ever told her. And now I have told you. So there it is, the whole of it, the 3 secrets most folks get wrong. Heat the bare pan all the way through before any fat goes in, because hot iron releases and cold iron grabs. Let the food take its first set and slide on its own before you ever touch it. And clean it warm with salt, not harsh scouring. Dry it at once over the flame any time water touches it, and seal it with a whisper of oil, never a flood. Do those 3 things, and your bare cast iron will be slicker than anything the factory ever sold you, with nothing in it but iron and good fat, and it will still be cooking your grandchildren's eggs long after the slick pans have all gone to the landfill. Now I want to hear from you, and I am asking honest, because I learn the whole of this country from these comments. Tell me down in the comments below, do you have an old cast iron pan handed down in your family? And how old is it? Who cooked on it before you did? And tell me the one thing you always thought you were doing wrong with cast iron, because I would wager a good deal it was the heat all along. I read every one of them, and I do love hearing whose grandmother's pan is still sitting on the stove and still cooking breakfast. Next time, I want to take the worst pan you can possibly imagine, a rusty, neglected, crusted over thing that somebody left out in a damp shed for 20 years, the kind most folks would take one look at and throw straight in the trash. And I am going to show you exactly how the old people brought a pan like that all the way back to life. because a rusted pan is not a ruined pan. And once you know how to season one back from nothing, you will never again pass up a good iron pan at a farm sale or a flea market, no matter how rough it looks sitting there. A good pan is a thing you are meant to keep, not use up. My mother cooked 10,000 meals on the pan that hangs over Esther's stove and that asks for nothing in return but a little heat, a little patience, and a whisper of oil. The kitchen that feeds a family for generations is the kitchen that remembers how to keep its iron. The people who built this country with their hands knew that, and we are only now just starting to remember it.